I am very pleased with the work that Trent Baalke and Jed York is doing. Now, mind you, there's a lot of our 49er fan base who are just completely against everything that Jed York and Trent Baalke have done. And these are the same fan base who still would want to see Joe Montana and Jerry Rice still in 49er cleats to this very day at 65 years old.
I thought maybe either Jed York or Baalke, I thought that one of them maybe was having an affair with a Seahawks fan and decided that the way to prove their love to her is to destroy the 49ers.
Are you listening?
Niners! Do you remember? This time last year, Jed York had just traded Jim Harbaugh to the Cleveland Browns. Of course, that was denied later. We accepted that and moved on. Little did we know that was the beginning of the end of the 2014 season. But let's not go into detail about that. Let us go to 49er Central, Santa Clara, California, where there's a good vibe rolling from beginning to end of that place. The story of the week. Vernon Davis, he runs a pattern. He catches the ball. He comes back and says, "Hey, who's that guy throwing that pass?" I looked up and I see the dude drop back, beautiful drop back, threw the ball. Who is that? The teammate, of course, says, "That's Colin." Vernon was delighted. And of course, Colin was delighted that Vernon was impressed. I love that story. It's like Jimmy T said. What Colin has done is took great and made it even better. We got nothing but good things to look forward to with Colin Kaepernick. And Colin passing out some high praise himself. He watches Jared Hayne working out. This guy gives nothing but 100% according to Colin. He says the learning curve on this guy has got to be really high. It won't take him long. This is nothing but good stuff coming out of Santa Clara. Ooh, it's just such a nice thing to read after last year. And let's put things in further perspective. Antoine Bethea. I gotta quote him. I love this. Antoine is quoted as saying about the players that were lost last year. All right, we know we got no Cully, we got no Cox. Antoine's quoted as saying, "It's going to be fine. I have no worries about that. I think that last year, there was a lot of talk about our secondary, but I think our secondary did pretty good last year." Antoine, a modest guy, I had no idea. The 49ers secondary was number one in the NFL with 23 interceptions. And we can anticipate that again this year. I've had this argument with a number of 49er fans already. I'll get into that later. He goes on to say we've got a lot of young guys. Once we come together, get this camaraderie together, out here working, pushing each other, get these OTAs, mini camps, and all that, I think we'll be just fine. I agree too. Now what we have to do now is find out what in the world is he going to do? And I'm talking about Justin Smith, of course. This is the only thing that remains a mystery. Justin, please tell us what you're going to do. We need to know.
Ronbo, we're less than 3 weeks away, bruh.
From what?
Oh, you don't know? Come on, baby, don't you want to go? Come on, baby, don't you want to go back to the land of California, to my sweet home, Chicago?
Not bad, bro. Not bad.
You still want DGB, don't you?
Well, you know I do.
Well, you ain't go get him. Don't let these league mocks fool you. Every owner in the league is worried about who's going to get that boy. He'll be gone after the 5th pick.
That soon?
Devontae Parker or Jalen Strong, if Mitch goes in that direction in the first round, that is going to be about it. Anyway, I just jumped in here to mess with you. If you're looking for me later, I'll be over at my lady's house. Come on, baby, don't you want to go?
Okay, he makes a good point. He makes a good point. But listen, Trent is going to take the best player, number 15. I don't know what his priorities are, whether it be a wide receiver, whether there's a defensive back, or it's just a big beefcake to put on one of the lines. But we'll soon find out. Let us now go to the Niner camp and find out what's on your mind this week. Yes. And today, hey, John, where are you, John? Right now, where are you?
I am in Oakland, California right now, man, right across the water.
Now, John, if you see Michael Crabtree, you tell him we are not hurt by his exit.
Hey, man, good riddance to bad rubbish, man. That's what I say.
Hey,
that's what I say.
Because it's like I told some other people, there was employment for him in San Francisco had he not had such a pitiful season. So him looking for other employers in Miami and now in Oakland is more to his fault than it is the San Francisco 49ers.
I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, when you look at the Dolphins, and they need so much help from the wide receiver corps for them to be like, you know what, Crabtree, will pass on you. That's to let you know that his prima donna antics has given him exactly what he deserved, and that's a one-way ticket to nowhere.
I enjoyed that thoroughly. Let's get into business right now. I'm Jed York, and I'm telling you to hold me fully responsible for anything that takes place with the 49ers in the future. Now, since that epic day, John, what is your feeling about what's going on with the front office right now?
Honestly, in my opinion, I am very pleased with the work that Trent Baalke and Jed York is doing. Now, mind you, there's a lot of our 49er fan base who are just completely against everything that Jed York and Trent Baalke have done. They like to call York a spoiled brat. They want to give the team back to Dorial Jr. But at the same token, these are the same fan base who still would want to see Joe Montana and Jerry Rice still in 49er cleats to this very day at 65 years old. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I can't say that Jed York or Trent Baalke have done anything wrong. This is a very particular franchise that we're in, that we only want the best that will go out there and perform and do the 49er way of life. When you have players like Frank Gore and Patrick Willis that have transcended into football shrines, people are going to get upset. But they don't realize that these people have given 110% of themselves for over 10 years. Their body is broken down now. They're not as capable as they were. And I respect the idea that the 49ers are looking at, you know what, this is a business. We need stronger, faster, and, you know, people who are going to fit inside the cap. Why would you want to pay $8 million for Stevie Johnson when we could get somebody in the draft who's twice as fast and twice as capable? So going back to what you said initially, Trent Baalke is a wizard on draft day when it comes down to getting the talent for the dollar. And if you look at his tenure as he's been so far, he's brought in an insurmountable amount of players who can fill in these different gaps and these different holes that have seemed to arise the last 3 years. The last 3 years, we have not come into the league 100% healthy. And yet we still manage a way to finish in the top 5 defense, and we make fantastic playoff runs towards the end. So with Trent, what he's doing is exactly what he should do. He's changing the culture of 49er football so that they can compete with all these different teams who are getting Odell Beckham Jr.'s and Mike Wallace's and the Brandon Cooks. We haven't had that in, I would say, 15 or almost 20 years since we had somebody who can stretch the field and make the safeties go out. Mm-hmm. So I'm very pleased with the moves that he's making.
Now, John, with that said, we have seen an exodus we did not expect coming with the players that have left. Who do you think, out of all the people that have left, and that includes Justin Smith, who has not made up his mind, but we can assume at this point that Justin is probably thinking he's leaning toward leaving. Who is it amongst the people that have left that is going to have the largest impact on the 49ers' future?
Ooh, I would say the largest, I would definitely say it would have been Patrick Willis. Is probably the most impact of the people who have left our franchise. And I say that because he's been such a stalwart in our defense for so many years. He's a perennial Pro Bowler. I haven't seen too many inside linebackers that play with the intelligence and the tenacity and the all-around just intelligence that Patrick Willis presents when he's on the field. He can cover anybody anywhere. He recognizes zones and schemes before the ball even snaps, and that's something that you can't replace. However, when you have somebody like Navorro Bowman, they complement each other so much. It's almost like Navorro Bowman is actually stepping into being the captain instead of being the second lieutenant. And I believe that he deserves that chance to show that, hey, look, the reason why me and Willis were a tandem because we were a left hemisphere and right hemisphere of one brain. And when we came together, we were able to have a 360 degrees of knowledge of that football field. There's nobody in the league to this day except for maybe Bobby Wagner on the Seattle Seahawks who has that type of intelligence and can play from sideline to sideline like Willis did. And you know what? All the respect in the world to Patrick Willis. He's a phenomenal player on and off the field, and he deserves to be able to sit down and watch his franchise maybe perhaps do something without him that they're going to pursue as the Lombardi Trophy. So more power to Patrick Willis. More power to him.
All right, John, this question I had just for you because I know with your offense, and you could be an OC from what I can see, but this team has now become about as diverse offensively as you can get a team. We've got a speed runner to take the top off of any defense. We've got intermediate runners in Bolden. Torrey Smith and together in tandem are going to be grisly. And then you've got Reggie Bush coming on the backfield. Kaepernick with newfound skills and that ability to run. What in the world is the defense going to do? They can't plan for us, even if they do. What are they going to do? There's no telling what we're going to do. This is the most unpredictable offense of all time. Coach John McKenna, Kennan, what are you going to do? Give me some schemes.
Oh, man. Well, first and foremost, what I would love to see the 49ers line up in is bunch formation. Bunch formation kills zones. It kills man-to-man coverage unless you have 99 speed slot receivers and 99 intelligence inside linebackers. I can only imagine what type of schemes you'll be able to run with, and this is throwing this out there, I would love to see Dorial Green Beckham come to be a 49ers. I honestly think that he would be a better fit than Amari Cooper, just for the simple fact that he can block on the line of scrimmage for a run. He can stretch the field, and we need a 6'5", 220-something pound receiver. We need a Calvin Johnson, hands down. I would love to see Jalen Strong come, but like I said, we need a monster target so that Kaepernick can throw that ball anywhere in a 5-foot radius and he will go up and get it. I'm not a real big fan of the pistol formation with the way that we're setting up our offense right now. I honestly believe that the read options should come few and far between because the play action ability of what we're building right now is far more potent than anything that's going to happen, especially since we don't have Upati dragging anymore across the center. Now, Upati might not have done much for pass blocking, but with anything that comes along with that, with run scheme packages, he was the man to have. But like I said, we got younger, stronger, faster. I would like to see more zone running, a lot more power runs from Carlos Hyde, bubble screens for Vernon Davis. That would be great. I'd like to see a lot more slants and deeper slant routes coming in for the 49ers, just for the simple fact that we have enough people to put into the slot to where we can have a quick dump-off route. We can have Reggie fade out. You can have him release off of a block and go to the flat. There's just so many things that you can do.
John, brilliant stuff, man. Jeep has got to be concerned with you hanging around the Bay Area, man. You could have his job at any given moment. John, but before you go, you know you got to give the patented Niner yell. Are you ready for that?
Oh, that's epic. I'm ready.
Let me count you down. 3, 2, 1.
49ers!
And yes, as we continue searching for our guests around the planet, or should I say, the 49er family, Nazira. Nazira, this is a very unique look, and I really appreciate it because of the fact that it is so unique. She's in Niner gear as well as traditional Muslim wear. I am totally impressed. You see, this just goes to show that the Niner faithful, there is nothing that can kill the love for the 49ers. I don't care who you are or where you're from. You like the 49ers. You like the 49ers.
Exactly. You love the Niners. You love the Niners.
But, Nazaria, let's get down to business here. What are some of the emotions that you're going through just watching the 49ers seemingly fall apart right now? But things are getting better. But first, answer that one.
I think I have post-traumatic stress syndrome, honestly, from watching what's going on. I'm still in shock. I cannot absorb everything that is happening, So I thought, okay, maybe there's a theory behind it. I'm somewhat of a conspiracy theory believer. So I thought maybe either Jed York or Baalke, I thought that one of them maybe was having an affair with a Seahawks fan and decided that the way to prove their love to her is to destroy the 49ers by taking them apart bit by bit by bit. Instead of giving her flowers or chocolate or diamonds, she must be a real hell of a Seahawk fan because they really did a job.
You know what? I hope somebody looks into that, and because nobody else would have imagined that. It sounds and it makes sense to see what is going on now. There has to be something at least similar to that going on.
Has to be because it makes absolutely no sense.
Now, Kaepernick, the article is out right now. Vernon Davis has said that he didn't recognize Cap. Because camp was already started. He said Cap is standing back and stepping back into position and throwing the ball. It's a whole new Cap. Vernon says, I didn't know who that was. What can we expect from Kaepernick?
The thing about Cap is that he has so much raw talent. And I think that it just had not up to this point, and we still can't really speak on it because we haven't seen him play since coming out of the 10-week course that he had in Arizona. But I think it'll be different for him. Let me put it that way. I think the extra work that he has done, and he's the one who initiated that. Nobody forced him to. It shows, okay, look, I know I made some mistakes last season. I know that I was not on my game. I know that I could have done better. And he sought out help, and he sought out help from some very, good people that actually have a good reputation for things like this. And, so that is all to be commended. I'm just excited to see him, with a healthy offensive line, in situations where there's no behind the scenes secrets that we don't know about, where everybody's starting to get the attention that they need.
With that said, now the draft is coming up. We have 1 1/2 quarterbacks, and I call Blaine Gabbert a half a quarterback because if he had to trot into a game that was on the line and Kaepernick just got hurt, knock on wood. But should we feel safe with just Blaine Gabbert to come off the bench? Or should Trent go ahead and pursue a quarterback in maybe this second or third round? What are your feelings on that?
I honestly think that we're not in need of another quarterback right now. I think that there's so many quarterbacks that are being cut from teams all the time, that would be available in an emergency situation. And the way that you said, how all we have is him if something happens to Cap, and can he come in and fill it in? That is the same exact way that we all used to feel back in the 80s about Steve Young coming in and filling in for Joe Montana. It was the same type of feeling. When he went down in that opening season game against the Buccaneers with a back injury, everybody said, our season is over. How can Steve Young come off the bench and do anything good? And what happened? He went on to become one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. So
Hall of Fame.
Can never tell. Yeah, you can never tell, from the way that they play. Sometimes they just play bad because they don't really get to play, But I don't think that he should waste any draft picks or, give it any thought. I go back to what I originally said, or previously said, I should say. We need to see what Cap can do. I just don't think any draft pick should be wasted looking for another quarterback right now.
Now, Amari Cooper, Kevin White, now these are the sweepstakes receivers coming out of the draft. Rumors running crazy, and this is mostly wishful thinking from fans more than anything, I imagine, because this is one of those things the media got out there and people went nuts on. But anyway, can we afford to actually trade up for them? Because we got 9 draft picks with a lot of holes to fill in this roster. Should Trent run the risk of losing draft picks just for those 2 receivers, or one or the other?
No, honestly, I don't think he should do that. I think that with signing Torrey Smith, that we have something that we needed to work with, and our draft picks are too precious to waste on anything and give away or do this or do that. And my personal opinion is that, again, and it keeps going back to Cap. We need to see what he can do. You know, who is this new person? Because if he can be consistent like he was in his first season as a starter, and Torrey and Anquan can get downfield and do the things that they do, we would not be in need of any new receivers. You know, and I just think you need to give them a chance to come together and build their chemistry before giving away 2 or 3 draft picks to get one person that might be a bust, because Crabtree was not the greatest. He did not turn out to be what he was hyped up to be. And it's like you either win or lose in the draft. There's no in between.
And in fact, when you have as many holes as we do right now, it may not be good to be gambling draft picks anyway.
No, it's not. I think that we need other things more so than that. With him picking up Reggie Bush, there's no way Bush can ever fill Frank Gore's shoes, you know? And to me personally, it's like, he just seems like he has the mentality that if he's asked to block, he's afraid he's going to break a nail or something, you know? He's just a little too flashy and inconsistent for me. And, you know, everybody's getting excited about him, but not me. To me, he has like what I consider post-Kim Kardashian syndrome. If you look at everybody that she's been with, their careers have gone downhill since being with her, you know? So it's like, oh my God, we got rid of Gore and picked up this? What?
That's a good point. You know, wouldn't it be nice though if we could trade up for a CEO as well?
Oh yes, it would be. It really would be. That's what we need in the draft. We need to draft. Maybe we can get Kevin Costner from Draft Day.
Oh,
and use him instead.
God, I like that idea.
We can tell him to act like he's Carmen Policy. That will be his role.
And he would do a good job because he's an actor. That's what he does.
Exactly. So yeah, that we should put that into play.
There's some exciting new news because for ladies, we can now look for, and her name is Sarah Thomas. She's going to be officiating games next year. Now I mentioned this to you because I know as we've talked, you would like to be a coach yourself. Nazaria has a problem apparently with going into locker rooms with guys wrapped up in towels, but as far as knowledge of the game goes, she can help. Nazaria, what's your feeling on that new NFL female ref?
That I was happy when I saw it, and I was telling my friends that's supposed to be my job. I've trained my whole life for that. You know, I mean, I make better calls than the officials do. I call them before they do. My calls are more correct than theirs are, so all I'm missing is the little black and white striped shirt. So, you know, and the yellow flag to throw at people, not on the ground, but at people. But no, I didn't have a problem being in the locker room. The funny thing is that I was saying it would be a little distracting for me. I might not be able to give a very good halftime speech because I'd be so distracted. So it would just get a little awkward with that. But yeah, she has my dream job. I remember seeing when they first started having like Pam Oliver work, you know, and she was the first woman to come into interviewing the players, the sportscasting aspect of it. And, you know, I was thinking I could do that. I could probably do that better than she can do that, because it's obvious that I love football and I think she's just getting paid.
Well, Nazaria, before you go, you know, I have my demands and you have to give us that Niner yell. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1.
49ers!
I knew that you could do it. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nazaria. That was fabulous. I mean, we're talking about 2 opposite perspectives. Nice. Well, I'll see you next week. But all week long, you can always find me Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The name never changes. Ronbo Sports. Count me out.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You'll never have the secret stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.